Welcome, guys. We are finally here. We are going to be looking at QuickBooks, all right? QuickBooks Premiere 2018, Chapter 1, Introduction to QuickBooks, okay? So again, we already took a look at what the book looks like, okay? So this is what you're gonna guys, when you guys go to campus, this is what you guys gonna pick up. So this is the book that we're primarily that's going to actually focus primarily on the certification of QuickBooks, and it's going to be for Premiere 2018. Okay, make sure that you guys know which edition you guys are using and which desktop version you are using as well. Now, the one that I have on my computer is going to be QuickBooks Pro 2019. So there will be some slight differences that I will teach you, but the one that you want to learn for sure is according to 2018, okay? But I just have to do something slightly different because I have 2019. And the differences are not super major. It's just only when we dive into chapter 12, that's probably the real main difference. Yes, it's chapter 12, and then inventory. There's also a difference in inventory. Okay, but I will go ahead and make sure that I don't stray you afar and that I gear you towards the right way of teaching, because your book is going to provide you the correct version as well as the correct edition, and all you do is, after the end of this class, you're going to follow everything that's in the book. And then,
Can I ask you just one question?
yes,
That's the bookstore at the bookstore, I'm sorry. That's the main office there at PETA?
yes. If there's no one on side A, which there is, but they don't work for our particular section, so you definitely want to go to side B where the classrooms are, the testing center, and ask to pick up a book, because the staff there should be able to get the book for you on the other side for side
Okay,
from side
'cause
B.
I'll try and go tomorrow morning,
Okay.
yeah.
Let me just because Casey did say that she did have a couple books available already, but let me just double confirm so you don't make a trip out there and the books are
Okay.
not there. She told me there's 3 books on campus, but I just want to let me confirm with my coworker
Sure.
just to make sure that it's there and have
Okay.
it, and then let them know that you guys are gonna come pick it up. Okay, because that's
Great.
that's the most important thing, is to make sure that they know that you're coming to pick up your books. Okay.
Okay, all right, great.
And then this book here is going to be that they have a class case study, which is going to be focused on academy photography. So again, you're gonna see the infamous Bob Mason, and he is one of our customers. So yes, we're gonna be messing around with him throughout this entire course of learning for the Academy Photography. So we're already gonna, so the files that you have when you download this book, it's all gonna be geared towards Academy Photography, which is the fictitious business that just to help for studies. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so introducing first off the QuickBooks product lines, okay? So you have 5 different types of QuickBooks lines, okay? You have, number 1 is going to be online, okay? You have QuickBooks Online, and then you have the desktop versions, which consist of Pro, Premier, and Enterprise. And then the last one is going to be accountant. Now, if you look at the QuickBooks.com as of today, you will no longer see accountant, and you're going to see a bunch of other different lines that QuickBooks has created. However, because these are geared towards the 2018 certification, you are to know only what happened in 2018. So as of far as 2018, they do have accountant and they do have enterprise, but enterprise is actually called enterprise solutions. In 2020, it's just called enterprise. But the online version, okay, is going to also expand into what kind of packages you guys can provide what kind of other. We'll talk more into details when we dive into online, but I just want you guys to know that there are 5 different product lines when it comes to QuickBooks, okay? And each okay, and and I just told you for as of 2020, the online is actually more expansive, where the accountant doesn't exist. Now, also a few things that you need to know is that when we look at the differences between the product lines, you're gonna notice that this is very important to know that Premier and Enterprise Solutions are the only ones used for industry specific businesses because they are bigger and they have and it's obviously because you're paying a little more expensive price for this program. They're going to have um, uh, industry specific reports. Okay, so we'll talk up more in depth on that in the next section. Okay. So the difference between desktop version and online version is pretty straightforward. When you have a desktop version, that means it has to be on a physical PC device or whatever kind of device. It has to be on an actual desktop, meaning it's not very flexible, not portable, and it's only connected through a server or through the database on your computer. Okay. Whereas the online version, right, you're gonna be given a cloud, a cloud to hold all the data and information as well as keep your stuff secured. And basically, what you can do is you can travel wherever you are, update your books using your phone. You have more flexibility when you're using the online version of the QuickBooks application, right? And it allows more freedom to go anywhere and be able to update on the go. So it is pretty cool, but it can be very expensive, especially for online. All right, and we're going to dive into the online difference. So if you go on to the actual QuickBooks.com as of today, you're going to see that the online packages are actually pretty extensive, and they are charged on a monthly basis. It's a monthly subscription. Okay. And each one, obviously, depending on how big your company is or how many items you need, and we'll talk about items in a few seconds, depending on how much data or how much space or how much things that you need to record, right, will determine which package is more beneficial for you. So obviously, if you're a small business, a self-employed one is going to be for you. It's very small, not too many information that needs to be saved. So doing business as a self-employed is the easiest when it comes to the online version, and it's also the cheapest package. Now, I don't have the prices on here because I don't want to scare you guys to see how much they are, but if you'd like to take a look, you're more than welcome to go on to the Intuit or QuickBooks.com, and it will take you directly, and it will give you the options to choose between the online packages and the desktop version. Now, obviously, with the online version, like I said, if it depends on how big your company is and how extensively you need to have, or how important it is to be able to update your information on the go. So obviously, the highest one and the most expensive one is going to be the advanced package, which allows multiple users to log in at the same time, and anybody can use it just using by the app. So it's pretty cool on flexibility when it comes to online. All right, but our main focus isn't going to be online. It's going to be on desktop. All right. Now, these are the 2020 versions, as I know, because I created this PowerPoint in 2020. And unfortunately, I couldn't go back to the year 2018. But yes, but they still have the same typical 3 desktop versions, which is going to be QuickBooks Pro, and QuickBooks Premier, and lastly, QuickBooks Enterprise. So again, I mentioned that it's no longer Enterprise Solutions. 2018, it's for Enterprise Solutions, but 2020, 2019, 20 and above is going to be Enterprise, and that's it. Okay, and what these are, so these are the typical desktop products, and they are still usable today. Now, I'm going to go ahead and break down each and individual ones here. So for the Pro, you pros are usually geared towards small businesses. They usually have up to 14,500 items. Okay, so items means it could be a list of your customers, list of items that you sell, like your products. Accounts are considered an item, all right? So having at least 14,500 items is a lot. Now, from 2018, which is what I learned, 2018 Premiere allows you to do 14,500. Okay? This is current, up to date as of 2020, and obviously with the progressiveness of businesses nowadays, Pro, which is the smallest one, is going to allow to do 15,500. But back then, 14,500 was actually a lot for Premiere. Okay. So again, I want you guys to remember this. For Premiere 2018, the maximum amount of items you can have is 14,500. And you will get to see that. I believe it's on the first page of when you open the first page of your introduction. It does give you a little synopsis of each product in detail of what the difference are. Okay. Now, after that, and then it only is for Pro, it's only limited about to 1 to 3 users. Okay, meaning only 1 or 2 people can have access to QuickBooks. All right. Now, Premiere, so that stays true for everyone else, for everything, for as of today. For Premiere, it's actually meant for either small or medium-sized businesses. So typically, LLCs would primarily use Premiere. And it can hold up to, right now, it can hold up to about 1 million items in each list. Okay. And you can have 3 to 5 users. Okay. And it has over 150 industry specific reports, meaning like, so an industry basically pretty much separates the business based on what they do, right? So for example, a clothing store, right, is going to be in the industry of retail. So that industry is going to have other boutiques such as Forever 21, things that are in the same field and sell the same things. So for example, Walmart and Target, they are in the same industry because they are pretty much a store that sells anything and everything. They sell produce, they sell clothing, they sell non-essential stuff, they sell bedding, they also sell hobby stuff. They sell everything. Okay, so they belong to the same industry. Whereas a small boutique like Lowe's would not fall in the same category as Target and Walmart because Lowe's doesn't sell clothing. So you see, do you understand when I say industry? So when it's industry specific, meaning that they're going to pull out all the information in regards to other businesses and other stores out there that are in the same industry, and they're going to conform a specific type of report for you that kind of entails whether you're doing this, whether it's kind of like going along the same lines as whatever the industry is producing, like making trends and stuff like that. All right. One thing that Premiere could do is it could do forecasting, and it can also have mobile tracking. So that's really cool how that is introduced into Premiere. Like you can track your records and track your expenses using your mobile device. All right, enterprise is meant for the more larger companies such as corporations. Okay, and they can hold up to anywhere from 1 million items in each list. So they can go beyond that. So more than 1 million. And then they can have up to 30 users be able to tap into the file at one time. Okay, so that's really cool. Is that instead of like having just one person do the whole work, you can have up to as many as 30 people be able to access the file simultaneously. All right. Again, they also have the same thing, 150 plus advanced reporting, which is toward the industry. And then they also do forecasting, so they can do predictions as well as follow some trends. And then lastly, they also have mobile tracking capabilities. Okay, so that's just really the general line of the differences between them. Now, for your exam, I don't believe there is questions about the difference between them, but just for sure that you're able to categorize them, like which ones are desktops, what are the different types of products and product lines, and understanding that enterprise and Premiere are the only one that can do industry specific reports. Okay. All right, then I'm going to introduce to you what this is. So right here, as you can see, this is going to be everything you need to know as far as what your QuickBooks is. And in order to be able to toggle that is when you're in your QuickBooks, you just press the F2 button, which is the function key number 2, and it's going to display everything you need to know, such as when you installed this QuickBooks. So for example, I went ahead and screenshotted mine. So this one, it says that I've had it since, was it October or September? I can't remember where it was. I had it since September 19th of 2019. Okay, it lets you know what product it is. So here it says at the very top of the bar that I have QuickBooks Pro 2019. Okay, and then it also gives me my license number. Okay, so in case you throw away your box with the disc in it, you can always know what your license is by just pulling up F2. And what it's going to allow you to do is, while you are actually building your company files, it's going to keep track of how many things you have entered in through QuickBooks. So that's really cool as far as keeping track of all your numbers. So it can keep a track of how many items you've used so far and how many items you have left. Okay, and it also lets you know what release number it is. So release numbers are basically updated versions of QuickBooks. So if you understand IT and programming, every single program, product, any kind of tool that, or any program per se, usually typically every time they release it, people find bugs or people find something wrong with it, and they report it to the team. And what the team does is they find some kind of patch or some kind of way to resolve that solution, and they do that by having you update your QuickBooks, and then that problem is now resolved. And QuickBooks will let you know how many patches or updates are available, and what number update that you have the most recently updated. Okay, so that's really cool about F2 is you get to learn all of the details that are in regards to the um, yeah. Okay. Uh, okay. So one thing I do need to also let you know is actually, let me see. Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's go back a slide. Okay, so the one thing that I want you to know is, because I wrote it here on the side at the bottom, that what QuickBooks allows you to do is it allows you to be able to work with older files. Now, the oldest file you can work with is only 3 years prior. So if I have a 2015 QuickBooks, that means by 2018, that is the maximum I can go to open up that 2015 file. Okay? And you want to be careful, because if you do that, anything that isn't like updated between 2015, 2016, 2017, right? It's going to update it for you and make those changes necessary in order to convert your file.
Oh, okay.
Okay? But the great thing is you don't always have to constantly buy the newest and the latest QuickBooks program every year, right? Because that's going to cost the company billions and billions of dollars. And just like the schooling education, right? Why the publications, right? They always release a brand new book, and the only thing that's really different is they just made changes of the years, and maybe like one or two things that are slightly different, right? You'd be able to use the book, you'd be able to do the same thing as you were to now if you had an old book. It doesn't matter whether it's new or old or not. But yes, most publications, they do the same thing. Same thing with softwares. Every software every year will come out something new, and whether it's newly improved, it could be something slightly different. But if you learn as of today, since you're learning 2018, you can go into the field. If, let's say, the company that you apply for is using QuickBooks 2020, you have no problem adjusting, because it's the same thing, except it's only maybe allowing you to do something a little quicker, with much more easier. For example, like Mr. Sanchez was talking to the class about how he did QuickBooks 2012, he would have to manually put it in, whereas as now in 2019, it could be done in a button. Okay, so that's all that QuickBooks really does. It's just every time it gets updated, it's just updated by how easy it is to do a specific task. And the great thing about that, your company doesn't have to invest all that money to have to get the latest and the greatest QuickBooks, because if you can backtrack up to 3 years. So you can open up files 3 years prior. And when you open up those files 3 years prior, what happens is, because that file converts into 2018, therefore you still have a good 3 years before you have to update it again. Okay? So that is pretty much what I wanted to tell you about that. You're allowed to do that. Now, if you have let's say I have 2019, right? Unfortunately, 2018 cannot open 2019 things, right? Why? Is because it's above it, right? You can't downgrade. You can only upgrade.
Right.
So anything that I create, or because I'm using QuickBooks Pro 2019, I'm converting the 2018 into 2019. Unfortunately, you will not be able to open the file either because you guys have 2018. But what you can do is I know that you can convert. It's just not easy to convert. You can't downgrade, like I said. But what you can do is, yeah, that's it. You can't downgrade, but you can upgrade. And then another thing too is when you're crossing between other programs, you can convert to them, but sometimes you can't really convert others into other ones. It's just not compatible. For example, from going from Pro to Premiere, that's easy. You could definitely do that. From Premiere to Pro, there could be some slight differences that you're not going to be able to see everything. For example, let's say I did a whole bunch of industry specific reports and I converted into Pro. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to see that section, but I will be able to see everything else. Okay, so you want to be careful on which kind of applications or versions or editions of the product lines because some are compatible than others. Okay, and the great thing about this too is it also can convert from other accounting softwares into QuickBooks itself. So that's really cool how you can also be able to utilize that. But the only problem is you wouldn't be able to export it or take it out and convert it into whatever program the original was. Like let's say I was using Peachtree. I have a Peachtree file. I converted to QuickBooks. Yes, I can convert it to QuickBooks. However, yes, I cannot convert QuickBooks into Peachtree. Okay, I can only convert what the file is. Okay, so that's what's cool about flexibility and how QuickBooks is actually, compatible or not compatible, but flexible to be able to use other softwares as well as enter in brand new files or even update existing ones. So you can update existing old files. You can upload from other accounting softwares. You can obviously create your brand new company file, whatever it is to make it easier for you to start your business. All right, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about. Now, of course, Accounting 101. We all know accounting. We just came from it. So this part is going to be all review for you guys. So again, understanding the accounting focus. Now, the main goal of accounting is to understand the nature of and the flow of transactions, of any business transactions, right? All right. I'm gonna let you guys know this, okay? You do not need to know accounting in order to use QuickBooks. Okay? Again, you do not need to know accounting in order to use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is for everyone. It is user-friendly and it's easy to learn. You do not need an accounting background in order to use QuickBooks. However, getting that educational background actually allows you to help realize what QuickBooks is doing behind the scenes. All right. So again, it's good to know, especially if one day the internet decides to die out on you on your QuickBooks, because QuickBooks, you need to have internet in order for it to operate because it's constantly connected to the internet. It's constantly saving everything online. So you want to make sure that if in case one day the internet fails on you, QuickBooks is not running, and you need to record these business transactions, at least with an accounting background, you know what to do, right? If you don't have any accounting background, well, I guess you have to wait till you have internet again.
Right.
Yes. Because, for someone who doesn't even know how to do any transactions, it's basically defeats the purpose. But, again, you do not need to have accounting background in order to do QuickBooks. So other than that, when cash is flowing in, you need to understand that there is an equal and direct correlation to the opposite flowing, which is your credits, obviously. So again, not it doesn't apply to just science, right? It applies to accounting as well. Understanding that if you have one action, you're gonna have a reaction, and that's what the double entry reflects. If you're having one flow direction, you're gonna have an equal and opposite direction. And then obviously you need to know how money is coming in and how is money coming out. And understanding how if you make a sale, what are you gonna get? You're gonna receive cash, and then you're also going to have to exchange for inventory items. Okay, so you guys should know all this by now. You guys should be experts by now. Okay. And then here are the 5 types of accounts. Okay, so in your book, in QuickBooks, right, we learned that revenues and income are the same. They are the same. However, in QuickBooks, it's only recognized as income, no revenues.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, of course, you could change that, but it's going to be categorized as income. You can't change it. But what you can do is you can add names to it. But it's going to be assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. And of course, the fundamental line is the fundamental backbone of all things is going to be assets equal liabilities plus equity, right? The accounting equation also applies here in QuickBooks. However, you don't need to do the calculations. You don't need to sit there and calculate every single asset. QuickBooks will do it for you. Okay? All right. So again, we're going to be looking at the chart of accounts. So again, in this one, this is a little screenshot of what the chart of accounts would typically look like. Now, what you can do is you can have account numbers. They're organized by account type, right? So again, they're organized by account type. So assets go first, liabilities go next, equity goes after, income goes next, and lastly, expenses are last. Now, for some odd reason, QuickBooks associates other income and other assets as after everything else, which is weird because I would put other income under income and other expenses under expenses. But no, for some reason, it's weird. I don't know why, but apparently it is categorized like that. But yes, and it's definitely, you can change and toggle how they are, but for sure, what remains true is that it's going to be categorized based on the asset type. The type of account. Okay? So here again, here's an example of a quick view of what the chart of accounts will entail. Again, you can have an account number, the account name, what the account type is, and specifically the great thing about this is you're also going to be given account balances right here and right there. Now, that is only applied to permanent accounts. All right, what are the permanent accounts?
Assets, liabilities and equity.
Yes, those ones, because they have an open balance, they will have what's called a register. And a register is going to give you an open balance. Okay? Your temporary accounts, which is your income and your expenses, they're not going to have those options for you. Instead, they're going to have what's called a quick report. That's very important that you need to know. All right? Not every single account type will have account balances. Okay. Only.
So you said not every type will have
yes.
balances.
The question could be asked this way: which accounts
Mhm.
have running balances? And you're going to answer assets, liabilities, and equity.
And equity,
All
okay,
right, and then you could be
balances.
you could be asked, well, which one have registers? Registers and running balances are the same thing.
Okay.
All right. You can also be asked, well, which accounts have quick reports? All right. And when we dive into actual doing the interface navigation tomorrow, I'll show you what I mean. So we'll do a quick recap of chapter 1 in the beginning of class, just so then you're kind of aware of what I mean. Because this one, I can only screenshot. So, yes, so make sure that you understand that it is going to be in order based on account type. Assets are going to be first, your expenses are going to be last. Okay? All right, and with that, we are going to be looking at double entry accounting. Now, we recognize double entry accounting as like this, right? If we made a sale, we receive cash, right? This is considered double entry. But when you enter this information into QuickBooks, what you're going to do is you're going to enter in as a single entry. As in, when we look at the interface, I made a sale. I'm going to just recognize that I received cash. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And
You
QuickBooks.
just put cash and sale? Okay.
No. You're not going to even do the journal. You're literally going to fill out a sales form saying I sold this and I received cash.
Oh.
And that's a single entry because you're not recording the sales. You're recording the cash. And what's going to happen is when you enter in the information, what it does is on a standpoint as a user interface, I'm going to enter it in as a single entry. What QuickBooks is going to do is it's going to do double entry behind the scenes. All right? It's going to update two accounts. It's going to update your cash account and it's going to update your sales account. Okay? And with that being said, number one rule is your debits must match your credits. Now, with QuickBooks, it is the easiest way to not make any mistakes because your debits and credits will match 95% of the time. Okay? If not almost 95% of the time, it could be even 99% of the time because when you're doing a single entry, you have no flexibility to make the double entry and make an inaccurate assumption. All right. And then when we look into actually journalizing in QuickBooks, it does not allow you to enter the transaction if the debits and credits do not match. Okay. So we'll look into that when we dive into those later chapters. But yes, so QuickBooks does do a double entry. However, the user enters it in as a single entry. Okay? And everything is done behind the scenes. All right. Again, please, you guys should know this by now, not to refer debits and credits as increase and decrease because they can decrease or increase on any side as long as you recognize what kind of account you're dealing with. Okay? We all know that. And then this lovely, infamous normal balance just helps you understand how the transaction is actually flowing. So again, you guys understand that assets are increased by debits. Same thing. Now, in QuickBooks, you will never be asked this question. You will never be asked a question like, does your assets increase with a debit or decrease with a credit? You will never be asked this question. Why? Because all you're primarily doing is entering the transaction. Everything will be put in for you. You have a bill. You receive a bill. You enter the bill in. It automatically increases your liabilities and it automatically increases whether it's an expense or not. Okay, whether you made a purchase or not. Okay, it will do it for you. All you have to do is just enter in the number that you owe, and that's it. You don't have to, yeah, you don't need to know anything about debits and credits when it comes to, that's why I was telling you, everything that you've learned up till today, throw in the trash.
Right, right.
Right?
Yeah, wow.
But
Okay.
just understanding the underlying, like, why, reasoning behind the transactions is very important for, again, in case QuickBooks does fail on you, what do you do? At least you know something, right? It helps you just understand the transaction at hand. So in this one, we already know what this is, right? Your assets are increased by debits. This is just to understand the flow of transactions. We all know this. Okay. And then lastly, understanding the difference between cash and accrual basis, which we've already talked about before. So cash basis, right? So the great thing about QuickBooks is it allows you to have the options to choose to run your business either as a cash basis or an accrual basis. And by default, QuickBooks, the minute you open it and you create a file, it will automatically associate that you're going to be dealing with an accrual basis. Because most businesses are accrual basis. They're not cash basis, right? But if you're looking at a standpoint where you can't afford to have the accrual, then cash basis is definitely something you want to look into. Now, again, cash basis is, you're dealing with money left and right. But if you use cash basis for QuickBooks, forget using QuickBooks. Because if you're literally only going to be using two functions in the QuickBooks. You're only going to be using the banking, the checking, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Yes, because when you're entering your data, right, you're going to be using cash basis. So basically, you're just going to be writing checks left and right, and that's it. So if you use an accrual basis, you're going to maximize the amount of functionality that QuickBooks actually offers. So that's why by default it is accrual basis. However, you do have the option to be able to go in and change it at any given time to either do cash basis or accrual basis.
But it will default to accrual, is what you're saying?
Yes, it will default unless you make a change to customize your company file. You can permanently change it to make it cash basis. Yes.
Oh, okay, I just realized after I said that, it actually says that right here at the bottom in green.
Yes.
That the QuickBooks will automatically default using the accrual method, okay.
Yes. Yes. So I made this a little friendly for you. If you guys notice, it's a photography theme because the book is photography, but everything's black and white, so it should save you guys on your colors.
Yeah,
Yay.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So all right.
This out, I'm like, this is what, how many, 40, I think 40 pages, 47 pages?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I like having, the actual physical paper.
Yeah.
So, I
Right.
did it
Yeah, me
anyway.
too. I jot notes all over it.
Well, that's
Yeah, and I do
good.
too. I
As
like
I-
to
as I
jot
go
things
along.
down, right, so do I.
Good. Good. Good.
You can't do that if you're looking at the screen.
That's true. That's true. All right. Good. Good. All right. So accounting in QuickBooks. So again, I said this like a million times. The accounting will be done behind the scenes. Okay. So we're entering in everything as if the transaction is a single entry transaction. So what we do as the user is we're going to be entering invoices. We're going to be entering bills, and we're going to be entering memos and things like that, right? We will be entering checks, right? QuickBooks on the other side is going to associate, okay, an invoice. Okay, so you're going to have an expense coming up. That means you're going to have a possible liability coming up. Bills is already a liability, so it's going to associate that you need to increase in accounts payable. Memos, credit memos, you can use that saying, oh, okay, I need to make a return and allowances, right? And then writing a check, obviously, I'm decreasing my cash. So QuickBooks will associate by you entering all these information in. It will do the work for you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, now QuickBooks files. Okay, so when we look into opening or even creating these files, you do have three types of files that you can choose from. Okay, so the first one is going to be your QuickBooks data files, or we call it a workbook file. And what that, go ahead.
What did you say you called it?
Oh, the QuickBooks workbook file, or in the book it calls it a data file. Okay, data file or the workbook itself is basically the actual file that you're currently currently working on, or the file that that you create your company for. It's going to be your meat and potatoes, I would say. Right? It is the primary source that you're going to be constantly updating. It's going to be the workbook that you're updating. It's going to be that file. Okay? It's going to be the one that you're constantly updating, constantly working in. All right? Then you have a backup file. Now, oftentimes, right, when we're looking at a workbook file, right, the current file that you're currently working on, right, oftentimes it's also general, I guess, rule of thumb is you should definitely back up your files, because any given point in time, your computer could crash, someone could accidentally, knock out the power cord, or, spill some water on your computer. Another thing is you can also go into like a power surge. Anything can happen and your file can be corrupted, lost, whatever it is, right? So that's why it's general, especially when you're dealing with really sensitive financial information, right? You want to make sure you back up that stuff, because, if you have a potential threat, such as, oh, I live in Vegas, we always get power outages all the time, then yes, you definitely would want to back up your file. But another thing is, if you having multiple users work on the file, there could be a potential where someone's working over you, and if they don't save that file, then obviously your work might be saved, but their work might not be. So you want to be very careful and to make sure that you ensure that you back up your file at all times. And when we go ahead and dive into actual navigation tomorrow, I'm going to show you how often you can back up your file, and what you can also even schedule a backup to happen in the background. So it's pretty cool. So yes, so basically what it is basically a condensed file, that basically it just basically saves your file and your work, and it's backed up for the day that you last save it. So whatever your last transaction for that day is, you backed up the file. That's going to be the most current information that you have based on that file. Okay. Now another thing is I want to go back and mention is that, remember when I said when you're working with QuickBooks, a workbook is extremely a huge file. Your backup is just as big.
Oh, wow.
Okay? All right? Because depending on how many
Condensed?
even if it's condensed, yes, they're also heavy. However, it's just smaller by a little bit. Okay, it's not super condensed. Okay, because the reason being is because when you're backing up a file, right, you're saving all the content that you've created. You're saving all the transactions that you've entered, right? Yeah. So you can already imagine that your main current workbook that you're working on will just gradually get bigger and bigger and bigger, because you're entering more and more and more transactions as you proceed through the day. And backing up that, it's just going to, it's every time you back it up, you're saving essentially all the details to every transaction that have just recently entered. So every single time, no matter what it is, both the workbook file and the backup file are going to be pretty heavy. And this is why I encourage you guys, if you guys don't have computer space, work on your flash drive. Okay, it's not recommended, but you know what? For the sake of this class, I would highly have you guys work primarily on your flash drives, okay, versus the local C drive. Okay. Just because I believe that your computers are a lot faster than the ones on campus. On the ones on campus, they're a lot old. They're a lot more old school, so their processors are not as fast. Okay.
So you mean that when we subscribe for the 30-day trial to save it on the flash drive?
No. When you're using the workbook files,
Oh, okay.
okay, save them on your flash drive because again, these can get very heavy, and the more files that you practice on, save them, the more heavier your computer or flash drive will get. Okay, especially because even though we have preset files already, you know, some of them, yeah, they look small, but when you open them, they expand. So, and that's what I would talk about when we get into the portable files, okay? Because when we're looking at the portable files, right? The portable files, okay, that one it's going to shrink small enough to be emailed, to be transferred through flash drives. So the portable files are going to be very, very small. But they contain a lot of detail, right? And so the great thing about portable files is you're able to share, manipulate, as well as be able to transfer your data safely, you know, via whatever platform you use, right? So this one gives you flexibility in a sense of working with your files. But no matter what it is, you send a portable file, you try to open it up into QuickBooks, it's going to automatically expand it into a workbook. So this is why I was letting you guys know that you do have options, but the main functionality of QuickBooks is you're going to be primarily using a workbook. Okay? You open a file, it's a workbook. Okay, you can't open a portable file and work on a portable file. You have to open up as a workbook, and then when you're done with it, then you can save it as a portable file. Okay, so portable files, again, the main purpose of them is to be able to easily transfer data from user to user. Maybe you need to transfer it to your accountant, whatever it is. It's easier and flexible to use. However, again, it also entails with the type of program they have, whether it's compatible or not, and us also dealing with what kind of version and things that they have, right? But for the main core of this, I want you guys to get away from this is you're going to create a file, it's going to be a workbook. You open a file, it's going to be a workbook. You save a file, you have the choices to choose between a workbook, the backup, or the portable file. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you about this that I absolutely love. It automatically saves your work no matter what. You don't need to press Control Save. You don't need to save. It will automatically save itself. Okay?
So it does automatically save. Okay.
Yes. Now, it doesn't automatically save as a backup or a portable file. Those things that you have to manually do. It will only update your current workbook. So in case for any reason you're in the middle of a transaction, you'll lose that transaction. But however, for the previous one that you've entered in, it should be saved. Now I can tell you this, oftentimes because of the internet, it does shut down, or it does, the program starts to freak out and starts to freeze, and you have to do like a manual restart. So from there, usually once if you have sound or not, you're gonna get the beep of approval, and you'll hear it when we do transactions together. Once you get that sound or that indication that the transaction has been completed, from the last thing that you completed, it will save. Okay, so yes. All right, now we're gonna be talking about how to open files in QuickBooks. Okay, so in this case, you're going to get this little interface, this little window that kind of gives you options to choose. Now you have the options to choose to either create a new company file, open an existing, or restore a company file, or the other one is to open up a sample file. Now, for this class, we're not going to open any sample files. We already have files that are already created. Sample files are just for you to explore, and you can do that. There are a preset number of sample files that you're allowed to be able to look at, just to give a feel of what QuickBooks is about. But for this class, we're primarily going to be focusing on either creating a new company file or opening an existing file or restoring a file, we call it. Okay, so again, those are the options there. So when you click that option to either open a company file, it's going to show you this option where you have to choose from 3 options. You either open up a company file that's already pre-existing. You can either open a backup or restore a backup, or you can restore a portable file. Okay, now again, let me remind you, okay, if you restore a backup or restore a portable file, what's going to happen is it's going to open and expand it into a regular workbook. Okay, and it's going to ask you to save it. How do you want to save it? So in this case, if I open up a backup, I would choose a backup. If I want to choose a portable file, I would choose a portable file. Okay. So the next slide is, so once you've done that, it's going to ask you to where you want to save this workbook, and then you go ahead and find a location for it. Generally, I'll put it on my desktop or put it on my flash drive, just depending on what I feel like in the mood. But most case, I do work directly onto my flash drive and just dump it there. Okay. And then the next one is how to create a backup file. So we'll go over this. So here's a little picture of the interface. What you're going to do is you're going to go to File, and you have that little section where it says Backup a Company, and then you're going to either do a local backup or you're going to restore a previously locally backup. Now, the option you choose is create a local backup. So what that does is basically you're creating a backup on your computer. And yes, you can do that and then copy that file into your flash drive. Yes. Now the whole purpose of a backup file is to be within reaching distance, right? You don't want to put you don't want to save up a backup file on like a computer you never use. You want to kind of have it nearby just in case something does happen to your file. So that's why we would highly recommend you to save your backup file on your portable flash drive, just in case for any emergencies that happen when you're currently working on your current workbook. You have it readily accessible. Okay? But that is how you save a backup, and we'll go more into detail when we actually physically see it. All right, now restoring a portable file. So again, now we're opening a file that is on a flash drive or from an email, XYZ, same thing. It's just going to pop up out of those 3 choices, right? You could choose that from there. How to save or create a portable file. It's going to be a little different. Its words doesn't really say portable file. What you're going to do is you're going to go to File, and you're going to send a company file. And when you send a company file, then you're going to have a portable company file option to create. You also have the option to create the accountant's copy, right? In case you're working with your accountant and they want you to send your books to them. So you can create an accountant's copy, which is actually going to be a little more secure because theirs is going to convert it into QuickBooks Accountant. That's what that's what that program is for. Is basically for accountants, and they have flexibility because they're able to open up any type of edition program, whatever it is. Okay, so yes, so you can make an accountant's copy, or you can go ahead and make a portable copy, right? And you want to definitely use it save it into your flash drive. Okay. Next part I'm going to talk about is going to be user interface. Okay. So user interface, right? So here I have a screenshot of what I see every time I open up my QuickBooks. Okay. As I can see, I see a bunch of icons, a bunch of things that I have no idea what they are. Okay. And I'm going to break it down each and one for you. Okay. So the first one's going to be the home page. The home page is a graphic depiction of exactly the flow of transaction, and it's going to entail everything and anything that you need in regards to your company file. So, for example, if I sell items, right, I need to get inventory. If I start from square one, which is to make a purchase order. If I follow it to the right, that means I'm going to receive my inventory. And if I follow it to the right again, I'm going to have to either enter a bill against the inventory, and then I follow that line down and go right. Then eventually I have to pay that bill. So what the home page does for you by entering in transactions is it allows you to comfortably recognize what the flow of transaction is and what usually happens once you use that icon. So this is exactly why I tell you, you absolutely don't need to know accounting in order to do QuickBooks, because QuickBooks already gives you pretty much an outline of what to do next, right? So for example, I sold an item, it's going to go straight into my deposits. So I know where it goes because it tells me where to go. And that is the home page for you. Okay. It's a bunch of icons and it's a graphic depiction of the flow of transactions. Okay. And then you're going to notice that you have a few icons on the the right side. So you're going to have, it's going to be categorized by specific centers, we call them. So the first one, the top one, is dealing with primarily your vendors, right? That's involving inventory. Anything that has to do with your vendors, it's going to be at the top. Anything that has to do with your customers, dealing with sales, right, is going to be in the middle section. And then the last bottom portion is going to be dealing with your employees, right? Your employees are going to be the bottom one. And then anything that has to do with your company is probably going to be your top right corner, right? Things like your chart of accounts, things like your inventory activities. And then as we move to the bottom portion of the right side, it's going to be dealing with your personal things like your bank account, your checking account, how to write a check, entering your credit card transactions, okay? So these are all in the same along lines as all these icons pretty much function as any transaction that you can do in QuickBooks. All right, then we're going to be introducing to you to the icon bar. So the icon bar is going to be on the left side of your QuickBooks homepage. QuickBooks interface platform, whatever you want to call it, your navigation location, right? it's going to be on the left side. And what these are is they're pretty much quick links to every transaction. Or if you want to do a specific one, you can have them quick links to their centers. For example, here, as you can see, we have income tracker, bill tracker, and you have a calendar. So those kind of things, right? You're able to edit this icon bar to put whatever transactions that you mostly use or you often see. So the icon bar again are just basically quick links to that transaction. Okay, and you can format them to, or you can choose to either hide the icon bar, or you can either choose to have it at the top of the window and to maximize the space of your transaction place. Okay, to enter your information. Lastly is going to be the menu bar. The menu bar is pretty much like any other program, right? It's basically going to be categorized based on specific topics. So here, this you cannot change, and we'll talk about that when we go into chapter 7. But the one thing that you can do is every single tab that you press, right? It's going to give you a drop down list of every single transaction possible for QuickBooks. Okay? Every single transaction possible. Okay? And usually the menu bar is at the very top of the window. It's below the title bar, which the title bar allows you to know what file you're in at all times. Okay? And yeah. All right. All right, then we're going to be introducing you into centers. Now, there are 3 common centers that we mainly focus on as far as this, and it's pretty straightforward. You're dealing with your people, right? You got your vendors, you got your customers, and you got your employees. Now, each center is going to give a pretty much description of anything about your vendors, right? So this is a little short. I got this little screenshot of the vendor center, right? You're gonna have a list of all your vendors on the left side, right? It's gonna have the vendor name in alphabetical order, and it's gonna have an account balance with them, right? And then on the right panel, right, if you click on that specific vendor, on the right side of the panel, it's going to give you a little synopsis of little contact information, a little details about them. And then on the bottom of the right is going to give you a list of all the transactions that are between you and that vendor. Okay? So that's what's cool about that, how it is organized like that. Okay, this is where you can enter new vendors, and you can also change things about them. So, and we'll talk about that when we dive into chapter 4. Okay, now how to enter transactions. Okay, how to enter transactions. Well, first off, you have forms. So, just like going to the doctor's office, you're going to fill out the form. You're going to answer the questions, and you're going to submit the paper to whoever the receptionist is, right? Same thing, same idea will apply here. You're going to answer all the questions, and then you're going to press save and close, all right, or save and new, right? So again, you're going to enter in the data as if you're filling out a form. So you have drop-down menus. So the more you fill out the information for QuickBooks is going to save that data. For example, I type in a new vendor that I've never used before. QuickBooks is going to recognize it and save it, so that maybe in the future you end up using that information again. And when it comes to that, it allows you to fill out your form a lot easier. Okay, so again, entering a data, you have forms, right? Just entering in as it is. Okay. And then the second one is going to be lists. Now, there are two types of ways you can enter in as a list. So the first one I'm going to show you here is actually doing a multiple set at one time. So in this case, this kind of list is I can enter in as much details as I can possibly about everything and anything. Now, this is for the vendor, okay? You can't actually apply this for everything, but for the vendors, yes, you can enter in multiple vendors at one time. And that's where you're entering things as a list. The second one is going to be like what I talked about earlier in when you're filling out your form is as you build your list, what's going to happen is your drop down menu is just going to get longer and longer and longer. And the great thing about that is you have the choice to choose from the list to enter in the data for QuickBooks. Okay, so that's really cool. And then lastly, it's going to be entering it through the register. So again, all assets, liabilities, and equity accounts will have registers. And basically what it is you can directly enter in the transaction right then and there. Okay? You don't need to do a journal. You don't need to do, you don't need to enter a check or anything like that. You can just enter it in right into the register, and it's going to update all the accounts that are associated with your entering the stuff into a register. And we'll talk more into it when we actually look at the check register. So that's gonna. This is the example of the check register right here, and you can go ahead and enter in the check without writing the check yet. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. And then now we're going. So any questions into QuickBooks interface or entering in the data? Okay. You're going to learn that as we go through this whole entire program, you're going to learn quicker and newer innovative ways to enter in data. But primarily from those three, you're going to enter them either as a form, as a list, or you're going to enter them as part of the register. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Oopsies. All right, last thing I want to talk about is going to be QuickBooks Help. Now, QuickBooks Help, you can definitely find that on the menu bar under Help. And what it really does is you have quite some options that you can choose from as far as getting support help. You can actually talk to someone online to try to help out what you need to do. But under the QuickBooks Help, you have other things like finding a local QuickBooks thing. You can even ask the accountant. Okay. Yeah, so in cases you do have questions, you can ask the accountant. This also gives you the options to look at updates in case you need to. The reason why your QuickBooks is functioning weirdly is maybe you need an update, right? So the help button does a lot of things, and just besides support and getting someone to help you get in contact or anything vice versa. So obviously if you go to the help menu and you click support, it's going to take you right to their Intuit page and basically take you through customer service, right? But there are beyond anything that you can do. So again, you can even connect your internet, right? If you need the internet to primarily focus on the QuickBooks, then you are able to do it, all right? So that is there. Review questions now. Ready?
Yep.
Number 1, okay. The fundamental accounting equation that governs all accounting is C, assets equals liabilities plus equity. Yes, because you guys took the class. You guys know this.
Yes.
All right. Number 2, which of the following statements is true? Okay, so we gotta go through every single one. Number 1.
C.
Okay, yes, C.
Oh, it gives you the answer.
Well, anyways, A. Okay, debits are bad because they because they reduce income. That is actually debits. Well, they're not bad, but they do reduce income.
Debits minus credits equals 0.
Yes,
C.
because debits equals credits.
They have to
They're
balance, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So C is the correct answer. But we're just gonna go over the answers for fun, okay? So the first one, debits are not bad, right? They're not good or bad, but they do. This one's a confusing question because it actually does reduce income, but they're not bad. Equity is increased by a net loss. That's actually not true, right? A profit increases equity. Okay, and then lastly, assets are increased with a credit. That's obviously wrong. So yes, C is correct because your equation, the concept of debits must equal your credits. If you just subtract your credits, it should equal 0. Yes. Number 3, under the accrual accounting, okay, a sale is not recorded until a customer pays. B,
Oh, it's B.
okay, B, incomes and expenses are recorded when a transaction has occurred. Yes, that is true. Yes. Okay, we understand that through, that's what I was saying, we understand that through the times where we looked at cash basis and accrual basis. Yes. Number 4, QuickBooks is a job costing system, a payroll system, a double entry system, or D, all the above.
D.
Yeah, all the above.
Yes, all the above, right? It is a double entry system, but as we enter the data, it's single entry. Okay, but it is a double entry system. Yes. And yes, it's a payroll system because we do learn to do payroll in this chapter. We have a section for employees, job costing. We're gonna talk about that. That is dealing with your customers. Okay. But yes, it's all of them. Yes. Lastly, which is not a method of accessing the data entry screens.
D.
D.
D, yes, there's no such thing as a data entry button, right? We recognize there's a menu, we recognize there's a home page, and we recognize there is an icon bar. So yes, D, there's no, we didn't even talk about it. Okay?
Yep, it's Lynn made up.
Yep. No, this is from your book, guys. This is from your book.
You made that up. Okay.
All right. So now chapter 1 again, like I said, it's primarily review for you guys. And I will go over